Tom walked slowly through the trees of planet Virel. His boots crunched softly on the blue grass beneath him. Round him, the tall silver trees stretched high into the sky, their leaves glowing gently in the evening light. He had come out too, gather air samples, just as he did every evening, as part of his job. Nothing ever changed here. Tom was a field medic, a helper more than a soldier. He was sent by Earth's research group to live on Virel, observe the local species, and make sure no one broke the rules. The first rule was clear: never interfere with the Virelians. Humans were allowed to watch, but not to help, speak, or even touch them unless invited. The Virelians didn't trust outsiders, especially humans. Most days were quiet. Tom often went weeks without seeing a single alien. The forest was peaceful, maybe even boring. But that day something changed. Suddenly, a sharp sound cut through the air. It wasn't an animal. It wasn't a machine. It was a cry, high and full of pain. Tom froze. He heard it again. It was a voice. It was calling out in fear and sadness. Even though the words were in the Virelian language, the meaning was clear. Help! Tom turned toward the sound. He knew he shouldn't move closer. It was against the rules, but something inside him didn't care. He dropped the air sample case and ran. He ran past silver trees and glowing vines, following the sound. The cries grew louder, more desperate. His heart pounded. This was no trick. Someone was in trouble. At last he reached a small clearing. There, under a crystal-leafed tree, he saw a Virelian mother. Her tall, thin body shook as she knelt on the ground, clutching something in her long arms. It was her child, a small girl, barely moving. Her eyes were closed. Her pale skin had turned gray. She wasn't breathing well. The mother, Tenna, as Tom later learned, cried out, "I'm losing her! I'm losing her!" Tom didn't think. He stepped forward. Tenna looked up and hissed. In fear, her dark eyes widened. Humans were not supposed to come near, not to touch, not to help. But Tom slowly raised his hands, showing he had no weapon. He stepped closer. His voice was calm. "I can help," he said gently, knowing she wouldn't understand the words. But maybe she could understand his face, his tone. Tenna looked down at her daughter again. Her hands trembled. She didn't move to stop Tom. He knelt beside them. Tom opened his med kit and quickly scanned the child. Her pulse was weak, breathing shallow. Her body temperature was dropping fast. He didn't know her biology. She was alien, after all. But he recognized the signs. She was dying. He took out a stabilizer. Small injection used to keep the body awake and the heart steady. It was made for humans, not Virelians. Still, it was her only chance. He paused, looked at the mother, and waited for a nod. She didn't speak. But she didn't stop him either. He pressed the injector gently into the girl's thin arm. It hissed softly. For a moment, nothing happened. The girl's chest lifted slightly. Her eyes blinked once, then closed again. Her breathing was still weak, but steady. Tom sighed in relief. It worked, at least for now. But then he heard a new sound. Footsteps, from the forest. 3 Virelian guards stepped out. Their tall bodies shined under the purple light of the setting sun. They held long staffs that glowed with blue light. Their faces were cold and sharp. They saw Tom kneeling next to the child. One shouted something in their language. Another raised his staff. Tom slowly stood, holding his hands up. "Wait, I was only trying to help." They did not understand his words, but they saw the medkit, saw the injection in the girl's arm. The third guard stepped forward. Eyes narrowed. He pointed at Tom and shouted. But then, something unexpected happened. The mother, Tenna, stood in front of Tom. She spread her arms wide. Shielding him from the guards, she spoke quickly in her language. Her voice was strong, filled with emotion. The guards paused. One lowered his staff. Tenna turned to them and pointed at her daughter, then at Tom. Then she said something again and again. The guards looked at each other, confused, unsure. Tom stood quietly, watching. He didn't understand the words, but he understood what she was doing. She was protecting him. Minutes passed. At last, one of the guards stepped forward and picked up the girl gently. She was still unconscious but breathing better. The other guard pointed at Tom's medkit and took it. Then they motioned for Tom to follow. He didn't know where they were going. He didn't know what would happen next, but he walked with them into the forest. Beside him, Tenna walked in silence. Tom glanced at her. She looked tired, sad, but she gave him a small nod. In that moment, Tom understood something important. He had broken the rules. He had stepped forward when no one else would, and somehow that had changed everything. Tom followed the Varelian guards through the glowing forest. The tall silver trees around them made strange sounds as the wind passed. It was quiet, except for the soft hum of the guards' staffs and the faint breathing of the small, alien girl in one of their arms. Tenna walked beside Tom. She did not speak. Her face was unreadable, but her eyes looked toward her daughter again and again. She stayed close to the child and close to Tom. They walked for nearly an hour. At last they reached a large stone gate, hidden behind hanging vines. The guards touched the side of the gate with their staffs, and the stone slid open with a low sound. Inside was a city. The Varelian city was not like any human place Tom had seen. Tall crystal towers rose into the sky, glowing with soft green light. Thin bridges connected buildings like spiderwebs. Strange creatures flew quietly overhead, their wings shining in the evening glow. Many Varelians stopped and stared. A human. Walking through their city was rare, maybe unheard of. Some hissed, some stepped back. Others only watched with wide, silent eyes. Tom kept his eyes low and walked beside Tenna. He didn't try to speak. He knew words wouldn't help now. They reached a round building near the center of the city. The doors opened automatically. Inside was quiet, clean, and filled with soft white lights. It was a healing place. Their version of a hospital. The guards led Tom into a small room with a glass wall. On the other side, he saw the child Lyra, placed gently onto a soft platform. Several Varelian doctors stood around her. Their hands moved quickly as they scanned her body with strange tools. Tenna went to the glass and placed her hand against it. Her lips moved, but her voice was silent. She was praying or hoping. Tom stood back. One of the guards motioned for him to sit. He obeyed. Minutes passed. Then a doctor entered the room Tom was in. This Varelian looked older. His skin had lines, and his eyes were tired but wise. He looked at Tom and spoke, slowly. Tom did not understand the words, but the doctor tapped a small screen and pointed. Suddenly, a robotic voice translated, "You touched the child. You gave her something." "Why?" Tom stood up. He pointed to the girl through the glass. "She was dying. Had to try," he said simply. The doctor watched him for a long time, then he nodded once and left. More hours passed. Finally, Tenna stepped into the room with Tom. She looked calmer. Now, though still worried, she walked up to him and bowed her head. Then she spoke softly. The translator device caught her words. "The breath is steady now. She lives. You gave her time." "For that, I thank you." Tom nodded. "I'm glad I could help, but she needs more than I can give." Tenna looked at him carefully. "Why did you break your rules?" she asked. Tom sat down again, thought for a moment. "I didn't think. I heard you cry, and I knew someone needed help. That's all." Tenna was silent. Then she said something soft. "No other human has helped one of us before. We feared your kind, but you did not fear us." Tom gave a small smile. "Maybe that's why I'm here." Later, 2 more Varelians came. They looked like officials. Their robes were bright and marked with symbols. One carried a data pad. The other had a recording device. They began asking questions. What did Tom give the child? What was the tool? What was inside the injection? Tom explained everything. He showed them the ingredients in the stabilizer, salts, energy boosters, and molecules that help the heart stay strong. Nothing harmful. Nothing strange. The officials looked at the data, then at each other. "You broke the law," one of them said. "But you also saved a life." Tom didn't know what to say. He waited quietly. They left the room. Tenna returned once more. He brought food, something like fruit, soft and blue. She handed one piece to Tom. He took it carefully. Thank you. They sat together in silence, watching through the glass as the doctors continued their work on little Lyra. After a while, Tom spoke. Has this sickness happened before? Tenna shook her head. No, it came from nowhere, fast, no warning. Tom frowned. It didn't look natural to me. Tenna looked surprised. What do you mean? Tom looked through the glass again. I've seen natural sickness before. This felt strange. Too fast. It's too strong. Tenna was quiet for a long moment, her hands curled together. Her face was tight with worry. You think it was made? She asked softly. Tom nodded. Maybe. I can't be sure yet. But I want to help find out. Tenna turned toward him fully. Even now, even after they might punish you. Tom met her eyes. If I can help her or others like her, then yes. That night, Tom was given a room in the healer's building. It was small, but clean. A soft white light filled the walls. The bed was thin, but he was too tired to care as he lay down. His mind raced. He had touched a Varelian. He had broken the law. And now, he was in the middle of something much bigger than a medical emergency. But strangely, he didn't feel afraid. He felt ready. Somewhere in the city, a small alien girl was alive because of him. And her mother, someone who had once feared. His kind had stood up to protect him. Something had changed. Something had begun. The next morning, Tom woke up to a soft chime. A round door slid open, and Tenna entered quietly. Her eyes looked tired but calmer than the night before. Tom stood at once. How is she? He asked quickly. Tenna gave a slow nod. She sleeps. Still weak but stable, her voice was quiet. Your tool gave her time. Tom let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. I'm glad, he said. But he wasn't smiling. His mind was filled with questions. Something still didn't feel right. He walked over to the wall screen and tapped it. It showed simple images and logs in the Varelian language, with some Earth translations added by the system. He asked the computer to bring up Lyra's medical data. The computer beeped. A line of symbols appeared, then numbers and molecular shapes. Tenna watched him. You study her? Tom nodded. I want to understand what made her sick. It wasn't normal. He zoomed in on the data. A strange shape caught his eye, a pattern in the blood sample that looked almost familiar. His eyes narrowed. Tom leaned closer to the screen. He tapped a few buttons to compare Lyra's blood to other known viruses. The system brought up examples from Varelian sicknesses. None matched. Then he searched Earth's database. After a few seconds, the screen blinked. A pattern popped up. One used in synthetic viruses made by humans long ago for medicine and testing. His heart skipped. He checked again. Wasn't exactly the same, but close. Too close. Tenna, he said slowly. I think someone made this sickness. It wasn't natural. It was built. Tenna stepped closer. She didn't speak for a long time. Her eyes stared at the image. But who would do this? She whispered. Tom shook his head. I don't know, but I want to find out. Later that day, a Varelian doctor entered the room. His name was Rello, and he spoke through a translator device. You are not like the others, Rello said as he sat beside Tom. You act with heart, not rules. Tom gave a small smile. Maybe that's because I'm not a scientist. A medic Rello showed him a new set of test results. The virus in Lyra's body had strange layers designed to move past the immune system fast, but only in young bodies. It targets children, Tom asked. Rello nodded. We think so. This is no accident. It is designed to spread silently, then strike quickly. Tom leaned back. Then it might not stop with her. Tenna stood still, her hands tight. We must find the source, she said firmly. Rello hesitated. There is a place, far from the city, old, cold, closed for many cycles. A lab left by those before us. Tom looked at him. Before you. Rello nodded. Not Varelian, not human. another kind. Tom's eyes narrowed. Can I go there? The doctor and Tenna looked at each other. The idea was dangerous, but after a moment, Rello nodded. You truly wish to help, then yes. Later, Tom was given a sealed pack, a small scanner, a filtered mask, and a map. The cold zone was a forgotten area, far from the city. The air there was thin and strange. No one had entered it for many years. Tenna stepped forward. You will not go alone. Tom raised his eyebrows. You're coming with me? Tenna nodded. It is my child who suffers, and you helped her. No, I help you. Tom smiled. Then let's go. No? The trip to the cold zone took half a day. He rode in a quiet glider ship that hovered just above the ground. The land below slowly changed. The trees disappeared. The sky turned darker, and the air grew still. When they reached the edge, the ship stopped. In front of them stood a broken wall of black stone and glass. Cold wind moved through the cracks. Strange symbols marked the ground. This place feels wrong, Tom said softly. Tenna nodded. It is full of memories and ghosts. They stepped out. Inside the cold zone, everything was silent. No birds, no machines. Only the sound of their footsteps. They followed the map down a deep tunnel. The air grew colder. Their breath came out in mist. At last they found a sealed door Tom used. The scanner. It beeped. The door opened slowly, dust falling from the edges. Inside was a lab old, but still standing. Tables, lights, and machines waited in silence. Everything was covered in gray dust. Tenna walked carefully, her eyes wide. Tom went to the center table. He wiped away dust and found something strange, a vial, half filled with dark liquid. Next to it was a data pad with logs written in a language he didn't know. He picked it up and turned it on. The screen blinked, then showed a symbol. He recognized not human. Not VIRL. Elena. Tom called Tenna over. He showed her the screen. Do you know this symbol? Tenna stared at it, her face pale. No, but I have seen it in our old stories. We called them the First Shapers. They built things, then vanished. Tom tapped the data pad. Translator struggled, but it managed a few lines. Test 47. Cross-species, virus stable. Can move through air. Targets young. Masked as natural. Purpose. To begin the divide, Tom whispered. Someone wanted us to fight each other. Tenna stepped back. Who would do such a thing? Tom looked at the dark liquid in the vial. It's someone who fears what we might become. Together. They packed what they found and left the lab. Outside, the sky was darker than before. But now they had answers, and more importantly, they had evidence. Back in the glider, Tom looked at Tenna. We need to make a cure fast. Tenna nodded. For Lyra, for others. Before it spreads, Tom held the datapad tightly. His hands were tired, but his mind was focused. Someone had tried to tear their worlds apart. But now they would fight together. Tom and Tenna returned from the cold zone just before sunset. The glider ship touched down quietly outside the healer's building. The air smelled of rain, and clouds moved slowly across the sky. Inside Tom's hands was the datapad they found, the one with the truth. The sickness wasn't an accident. It was made. And it wasn't made by humans or Virelians. It came from someone else, a hidden enemy. As soon as they landed, Tenna sent a message to the High Council of Virel. They were the leaders of the city, the ones who decided law and peace. Tenna had once served in their science branch. Her voice would be heard. Now it was time for answers. The council sat in a large, open hall at the top of the tallest tower. 12 Virelians stood in a half circle, each wearing a different color robe. The center figure, an elder named Varen, raised his long hand. Tenna and Tom entered the hall together. Some council members narrowed their eyes at Tom. Others whispered quietly. No human had ever stood in this room, Varen's voice echoed. Have you brought a human to the council? Tenna stepped forward. Because this human saved my daughter's life. And now he brings news that may save many more. The council looked surprised. Varen waved a hand, explained. Tom took a breath and showed the datapad. The translator device began speaking his words slowly and clearly. I found this in an old lab outside the city, Tom said. The sickness that nearly killed Lyra, it's not natural. Someone made it not from Earth and not from Virel. Someone else. The screen showed images of the virus and the symbol, the one Tom and Tenna found in the cold zone. Some council members leaned forward, others looked away. Tenna stepped beside Tom. We believe it comes from the first Shapers, an ancient species thought to be gone. But this data says otherwise. One council member, Rian, raised his hand. This is a serious claim. If it is true, we must act. But if false, it may damage everything we have built. Tom nodded. That's why I came to you, not with answers, but with proof. Please look at the data yourselves. The council took the pad and began to scan. They whispered in low voices, reading the translated logs. After several minutes, silence filled the hall. At last, Varen spoke. This virus was made to look like a natural sickness. It targets young Virelians. And the design is hidden behind Terran medical code. It was meant to trick us, to make us believe the humans had done this, Tenna said. But Tom saved my child, and he found the truth. If not for him, more children would be sick or dead. Another council member, Lear, asked, how do we know he is not lying or part of it? Tom stepped forward. His voice was calm. I didn't have to help Lyra. No one saw me in the forest. I could have walked away, but I didn't. I don't. Want anything from you? I only want to stop whoever is behind this before it happens again. The council went quiet again. Varen finally said, we must test the sample. If what you say is true, this is more than a health threat. It is a weapon and a message. Tom asked, a message? Varen looked at him. Yes, someone wants. War between our kinds. A quiet war. One that starts with fear and ends with fire. Tom clenched his fists. Then we can't stay quiet. We must stop it now. Tenna nodded. We have already started working on a cure, but we need time and trust. Tom stayed in the healer's building for the next 2 days. He worked with Virelian doctors, sharing tools, notes, and methods from Earth. Some Virelians still avoided him. But others began to speak, ask questions, even help. Each night, he checked on Lyra. Her color had returned. She was still weak, but when he entered her room, her small hand moved. Once, she opened her eyes and looked at him. Tenna stood at the door. She remembers, she said softly. Tom smiled. She's strong. Tenna nodded like her father. There was a pause. Tom looked at her. Is he? Tenna lowered her eyes. He died many cycles ago, in the border fire. Tom understood. That fire had happened when humans first came. To Virel, both sides had made mistakes. Many had died. I'm sorry, he said gently. Tenna looked at him. And yet here you are, helping her, helping us. Tom gave a small shrug. Maybe it's time we stopped judging each other by the past. On the third day, Varen returned. The council has confirmed your findings, he said. The sickness was designed. You were right. Tom stood. Then we need to move fast. Our children could get sick. Varen nodded. We will support your cure project. Full access. Full protection. And we will announce this truth to all Virelians, even the outer tribes. Tom was surprised. You'd really do that, even if it causes panic? Varen looked at him calmly. Better a panic born from truth than peace born from lies. That evening, a message was sent to every Virelian settlement. It showed the virus, the proof. And Tom's voice translated in clear, I'm not here to control you. I'm here to help. Not because I must, because it's right. The message ended with a short video of Tom holding Lyra's hand as she opened her eyes. It was shared. Across the planet, and for the first time in many cycles, a human was seen not as a danger, but as a friend. Tenna came to Tom with news. We found something else in the cold zone logs, she said. A list, a map. There may be more of these secret labs on other planets. Tom stared at her. Then this is bigger than just Virel. Tenna nodded. We may not be the only ones in danger. Tom stood tall. Then we need to be ready. The air was colder than before. Tom stood at the edge of the old Virelian forest, looking toward the far hills. Tana stood beside him, holding a small metal cube in her hands. The map cube they had recovered from the Cold Zone lab. A blue light blinked slowly from its side, pointing north. There's another one, Tana said quietly. Another lab. Tom nodded.
How far?
Tana checked the cube again. About 3 hours by flight.
Oh.
It's deep in the ice range. The land air is unstable. Tom looked at her. Is it safe? Tana gave a small smile. No. But what waits inside is more dangerous. The glider ship moved fast over the white plains. Below them, frozen rivers and cracked stones stretched for miles. Strong winds hit the ship, shaking it slightly. But the pilot kept a steady course. Tom sat near the window, watching the land pass by. In his hands was a small case inside it, samples of the virus and early pieces of the cure. They could find more information in the second lab. They might be able to finish it. Tana sat beside him, checking her notes. She didn't speak much during the flight, but Tom could tell her thoughts were racing too. They both knew what was at stake. After 3 hours, the ship landed on a narrow cliff. A frozen wall of rock stood in front of them, marked with ancient lines. The map cube blinked faster now. This is it, Tana said. The second lab. They stepped out into the cold. Wind bit at their faces, even through the heated suits. Tom checked his gear. Scanner, oxygen pack, light source all ready. Tana led the way toward the rock wall. She touched one of the symbols, and a deep click echoed in the mountain. A hidden door slid open, and warm air flowed out. They stepped inside. The second lab was much larger than the first. Long halls stretched in both directions, filled with broken machines, old crates, and dark windows. Strange writing lined the walls. Faint lights blinked under layers of dust. This place has been empty for a long time, Tom said softly. Tana walked ahead. Someone came here recently. Tom looked down. Footprints they weren't. Virelian, and they weren't human. They followed the tracks into a deep chamber. There, they found something unexpected. A pod, still working. Inside the glass chamber, a small machine floated, spinning slowly in blue light. Tom stepped closer. That's not just a tool. It's a builder. Tana stared at it. Builder. Tom nodded. Earth scientists made similar things long ago. Machines that could create viruses or cures. In real time, he scanned the pod. A strange reading appeared on his device. This one's not from Earth, he added. It's more advanced. Tana stepped back. So the first shapers used these machines to make the sickness? Tom nodded. Most likely, maybe more. Then one type? They checked the rest of the lab. In one corner, Tom found a cracked screen with old data still running. He activated it, and the screen showed a series of logs. Most were damaged. But one log played clearly. Test 98, second strain released. Delay built in. Meant to activate in Virelian youth. Goal, weaken trust, break bond with humans. Successful. Expand to other species. Tom's face hardened. They didn't just want to start war. They wanted to destroy trust between all peaceful kinds. Tana looked at the screen, her voice cold. And they almost did. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A soft hum filled the air. Tom turned sharply. Did you hear that? Tana nodded. Something's powering up. They moved quickly back to the main chamber. The floating machine inside the pod was glowing brighter now. Its spin was faster. A voice, robotic, low and strange, came from the pod. Pattern breach detected. Foreign presence. Erase trace. Grab Tana's arm. It's activating. The pod began to open. Steam hissed from the sides. Inside, wires moved like living snakes. Tom pulled out a shock stick from his bag. A small device used for defense, the machine inside the pod, rose slowly into the air. It changed shape, small arms unfolding, tools twisting into sharp tips. It wasn't just a builder, it was a protector too. The machine charged toward them. Tom pushed Tenna behind him and fired the shock stick. Blue light hit the metal body. The machine jerked but didn't stop. It slashed the air with one of its arms. Tenna ducked and threw a metal box at it. The machine struck the box in midair, sending sparks flying. Tom backed toward the wall, looking for something, anything. To stop it, his eyes landed on a power cable. It ran from the pod to the wall. He grabbed the cable and yanked with all his strength. The machine froze. Then it dropped. Sparks flew from its body as it fell to the ground. Tom breathed hard. That was too close. Tenna walked to the fallen machine. Its lights were fading. "We were not supposed to see this," she said. Tom knelt beside the machine and opened a small panel. Inside, a tiny drive blinked once. He took it and put it into a reader. A new file appeared on the screen. Target phase, Earth. Tom stared at it. They weren't going to stop with Virel. Tenna looked at him. "They're planning more." Tom stood slowly. "Then we have to warn Earth. Now." They returned to the glider ship and flew back as fast as possible. Tom sent a message to Earth's base on Virel, warning them of what they found. By the time they landed, the sun was rising. The city lights shimmered in the distance. Tenna turned to him. "We have the virus sample, the machine's code, the drive. It's enough." Tom nodded. "It has to be." That night, as they reviewed the data together, a soft knock came at the door. Tenna opened it. Lyra stood there, wrapped in a soft white robe, still thin but awake. Her eyes were bright. She looked at Tom and smiled weakly. "Hello," she said, her voice small. Tom froze, then smiled. "Hello, Lyra?" Tenna's eyes filled with tears. The cure was working, and now their fight had a purpose stronger than ever. The city of Virel was quiet in the early morning light. A soft mist rolled over the crystal buildings, and the blue trees gently moved in the wind. But inside the healer's tower, tension filled the air. Tom stood in the lab room, staring at the screen. The final cure formula blinked on the monitor, complete, tested, and ready. They had done it. Together, humans and Virelians had created a cure for the deadly sickness. Tenna stood beside him, her eyes wide. "This is it," she said quietly. "This will save the others." Tom nodded, but he didn't smile. "If we can get it out in time." Tenna understood. "There are more infected now. Some villages have not yet heard the warning." Tom grabbed the small metal case that held the first full set of cure doses. "Then we move fast." Outside, a small flight group waited, Virelian gliders loaded with supplies. Tom climbed into one while Tenna joined a second ship. Behind them, Lyra watched from the healer's balcony, waving. She still looked weak, but her color had returned, and her eyes were full of light. Tom waved back. "We'll bring this to everyone, I promise." And the ships lifted off into the sky. They flew across wide forests and rivers, heading toward the outer regions where many Virelian families lived far from the cities. Some of these places didn't have good communication systems. Many didn't even know a sickness was spreading. After 2 hours, they landed near a quiet village built along a river. The homes were shaped from blue stone, and children played near the water. Tenna stepped down and called for the elders. When they heard the word sickness, their smiles faded. Tom stepped forward and spoke slowly through the translator. "Have the cure. It's safe. We tested it. Your children can be saved." An elder nodded. "One child here is sick already. She stopped speaking yesterday." Tenna handed the first vial to the healers. "This will help." The village accepted the cure with quiet thanks.
Yeah.
The fear in their eyes told Tom everything he needed to know. The sickness was spreading faster than expected. They had to move quicker. For the next 2 days, Tom and Tenna flew from village to village, giving out doses of the cure and training Virelian healers to use it. In some places, the sickness had just started. In others, it had already taken young lives. Each time Tom saw a child recover, he felt relief. But each time he saw one that did not, he felt fire in his chest. "This was made to hurt them," he said bitterly to Tenna one night by the campfire. "Made by hands that didn't care." Tenna looked at the stars. then it must be stopped by hands that do. On the third night, as they prepared to return to the city, a strange signal came through Tom's communicator. A message from the Earth base. The voice was urgent. "Tom, we found something. Hidden signal near Varel's orbit. It's watching transmissions. It's not from us." Tom stiffened. "Not from Earth." "No, and not from Varel. Something else. Possibly connected to your findings." Tom's heart beat faster. He looked at Tenna. "They're watching. The ones who built the virus. They're still here." Tenna didn't speak for a moment, and she said, "We must stop them before they do more." They returned to the city and met with the High Council once again. The data from Earth confirmed it. A cloaked satellite in orbit broadcasting coded signals. It matched the language found in the first Shaper labs. The Council was shocked. "They're still active?" asked VARR. And Tom stepped forward. "And they know we're close to stopping them," Tenna added. "We believe they may destroy the planet's cured data to slow us down." Another council member said, "That data is stored in the core systems, the flame chambers beneath the city. They strike there." Tom finished the thought. "We lose everything." Out. The council allowed Tom and Tenna access to the core. System chambers deep under the city, where all medical, communication, and science records were stored. Only trusted guards were allowed there. They moved quickly, but as they reached the lower levels, the lights flickered. A warning alarm rang out. "Unknown signal detected," the system voice said. "Access breach in progress." Tom ran to the nearest panel. "They're already trying to erase it." Tenna activated the chamber shield. "We can block them." "If we reset the main link manually," Tom nodded. "Where is it?" Tenna pointed down a long hallway. "Through the flame corridor." "But it's hot." "Very hot." The flame corridor was named for a reason. It ran beside the planet's natural heat vents. The walls glowed orange, and the air shimmered with heat waves. Tom pushed forward anyway. Control box was at the far end. His skin stung. His lungs burned. He reached the box and opened it. Sparks flew out. Just a few more seconds, he told himself. Behind him, the wall screen showed numbers dropping. The virus data was being deleted bit by bit. Tom rewired the control links. Sweat pouring from his face. The countdown reached 10%. He hit the last switch. The shield burst back online. Back in the chamber, Tenna saw the lights stabilize. "The data is safe," she whispered. Tom staggered back down the corridor. His hands burned, his breath short, but he was smiling. "We stopped them," he said. Tenna caught his arm. "You saved it. All of it." Later that night, the signal in orbit went silent. Hidden satellite exploded on its own, a final attempt to hide its origin. But it was too late. They had the evidence. They had the cure. And now, they had unity, as the city lights returned to normal. Tom stood on the healer's balcony, with Tenna and little Lyra. The stars above them twinkled. Tenna spoke softly. "You risked your life for a child who was not yours. You stood in fire to protect. Data that was not even from your world." Tom looked at her. "Call me different, but maybe that's what makes us the same." Lyra held his hand. For the first time in history, a human and a Varelian stood side by side, not as strangers, but as family. The twin sons of Varel rose slowly over the crystal city. Golden light poured across rooftops and shimmered in the blue trees. The sickness was ending. The cure had been sent to every corner of the planet. And for the first time, in many cycles, there was hope. Tom stood on the high platform near the healer's tower. Below him, crowds of Varelians gathered. Some wore robes. Others were healers, guards, workers, even children. But all eyes were on him. Beside Tom stood Tenna, dressed in her soft blue coat. Lyra stood in front, holding a small white flower. Her cheeks had color again. Her smile was gentle. The High Council had called this day a peace gathering, a symbol of thanks. Not just to Tom, but to the idea that two kinds, ones full of fear, could choose trust instead. VARRN, the old council leader, stepped forward to speak. "Many cycles ago," he began, "we feared the humans, and they feared us. But fear brings silence. Silence brings loss." He looked at Tom. This one broke that silence, touched one of us to save a life, and in doing so, he saved many. The crowd was quiet. Then came a single sound. Clap then. Another dot, then more soon. The whole crowd was clapping, a slow, echoing rhythm of respect. Tom didn't know what to say. He only nodded, and Lyra squeezed his hand gently. Tenna looked at him. You've become a part of this world, Tom, he smiled, and it became part of me. After the ceremony, Tom met with the Earth-based leaders. They had reviewed all the data about the sickness, the labs, the virus designs, and the destroyed satellite. It was now clear the first Shapers had not vanished. They had hidden, watching from the shadows, trying to restart war from behind the curtain. But they had failed. Tom showed the Earth team everything, Captain Rhea. A calm, firm woman from the science division said, "This may be one of the most dangerous discoveries in decades. If they made a virus for Varel, there could be others." Tom agreed. It's only the beginning, but now we know how to fight it together. In the days that followed, Varel and Earth signed a new union, pact not just for peace, but for cooperation. Human and Varelian doctors began working together in new research labs. Children from both worlds joined learning groups. Trade and knowledge flowed like rivers. One day, as Tom walked through the city, a small Varelian boy ran up to him with a drawing, a picture of Tom, Tenna, and Lyra, standing on a hill, smiling. "You're the hero," the child said with bright eyes. Tom smiled and knelt down. "No, I just helped." Back at the healer's building, Lyra had begun her recovery lessons. She was weak for a while, but her laughter returned quickly. She often drew stories, most of them about stars, ships, and adventures. Tenna once found a picture Lyra drew of a human and Varelian holding hands, standing between two planets. She placed it on the wall beside her desk. She sees more clearly than many adults. Tenna said with a soft smile. Tom looked at the drawing. Maybe she sees the future. One evening, as the stars lit the sky, Tenna and Tom sat by the quiet pond near the city gardens. Small glowing fish swam through the water, and the air was cool and still. Tenna spoke first. Of going home? Tom looked up at the stars. Sometimes. Earth is still my home, but now, this place is part of me too. Tenna nodded. We are grateful you came, and that you stayed. Tom looked at her. Would you ever come to Earth? Visit? Tenna tilted her head thoughtfully. Maybe one day. I would like to see your skies, your forests, your stories. He chuckled. And I'd like to see Lyra running through Earth grass, laughing. Tenna smiled gently. She has much to see. 2 weeks later, a message came. From the outer stars, another world, far beyond Varel, sent a quiet warning. Similar sickness had begun to rise, targeting the young. Tom read the report carefully. The symptoms were close. The design looked familiar. He looked at Tenna. It's spreading. She nodded. Then our work is not over. Together, they began plans for a joint team, one that would travel to other worlds. Search for hidden labs and bring cures wherever needed. The team was called the Lightwalkers, a name chosen. By Lyra? Tenna asked her why that name. Lyra smiled. Because they bring light, where others leave shadows. As the first Lightwalker ship prepared to launch, Tom stood at the ramp with his gear packed. Tenna stood beside him, holding a case of Varelian medical tools. Lyra hugged them both tightly. You'll come back, right? She asked. Tom knelt and touched her hand. Always. And we'll bring help to others, just like we brought it to you. Lyra gave a small nod and placed a glowing stone in his hand, to guide you in dark places. Tenna smiled. That's an old Varelian gift, very special. Tom looked at them one last time before walking up the ramp. The engines glowed softly, and the ship rose into the sky, from the stars above. The world of Virel shimmered like a blue gem, a planet once full of fear, now full of hope, and in that moment, one truth stood clear. One small act of kindness, a hand reaching out, had changed everything. In the end, it didn't matter that Tom was from Earth. It didn't matter that Tenna was Varelian. What mattered was that when one child cried for help, he listened. And because of that, peace had a chance to grow.